call to order?
I'd like to call the special Parks and Recreation Board study session to order. We all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Tyler, if you could do the roll call, please.
Sure. Mike Moffitt.
Here.
Mike Bovat.
Here.
Pat Connolly.
Here.
Wayne Pondinas.
Present.
It looks like Johnny Boersma is absent for now.
Okay, and with the Park Board study, we're going to move to item 3, items for discussion. On item 3, we have A. We're going to go through briefly the 2019 to 2024 Parks Master Plan, and Park Superintendent Tyler is going to give us a synopsis of that, if you don't mind, Tyler.
Yes, sir. And just a quick note, I don't believe action can be taken tonight since it's a study session. Just looking to have an informal discussion about goals and projects that we all have in mind. So yeah, I want to summarize the master plan here. It's about a 120-page document, so I kind of condensed it down to about, 15-minute presentation or so. So yeah, the process to update the plan started in June of 2018. It established goals and strategies for our department from 2019 to 2024, and it considers both immediate and projected needs of the community. It was approved by the state, which makes us eligible for grants, and this was completed by the ARSH group, who also prepared the impact fee study that you guys have, and those documents were completed at the same time. So our department profile, we have 33 parks, some of which are undeveloped, as we will discuss. It's 231.6 acres of park land. Staff-wise, we have a superintendent, a maintenance foreman, and then seasonal positions in the summer. For the budget, we have the operating fund, which is Fund 204, and then we have the Park Impact Fee Fund, which is Fund 473, that funds capital-related improvements. The impact fee is for every new, like I said, capital improvement, and I believe currently we have about 1.6 to 1.7 million in that account. More on the park impact fee. It was enacted in 1997 and then updated in 2018. The building permits that we receive, the fee that we receive from residential building permits is $1,868.01. And again, it funds growth-related park and recreational deficiencies and improvements. I believe that's correct, right, Beth? Is it residential?
On the impact fee?
Yeah, okay. So to go into more detail about our park facilities, I'll reference the NRPA, which is the National Recreation. They classify park facilities based on their size and their service. And they have a few different categories for that. In the community parks category, we have Veterans Civic Park, Heartland Park, Lake Hills, and Prairie West. And these parks are multi-use and typically exceed 20 acres, but can be smaller based on their usage and their function within the town. For our neighborhood parks, we have the Gates of St. John Soccer Fields, Heron Lake, Homestead Acres, Larimer, and Sun Meadows. These parks are classified within walking distance to neighborhood residents and typically exceed more than 5 acres. In our mini parks, which you see we have an abundance of, I'm not going to list all of them, but there's 14 in total. These are small protected spaces in residential areas, typically equipped with playgrounds and picnic areas. For our linear parks and trails, these provide walking, biking, and other non-motorized recreational opportunities. The one we have there is Homestead Acres, Parks 2 and 3. And then we also have some undeveloped parks. Homestead Village is a little parcel of land right off of Homestead Acres. Kilkenny is a parcel of land near Edgewood Estates. Lantern Woods is kind of an undeveloped wooded area that I believe is wetlands, and I'm not sure if it can be developed. Lewis Estates is the pond you see in the picture. Again, I'm not sure why we have that. And then there's White Oak Manor, which is the property just south of Patno Park off of White Oak. So public engagement for this process, they had public meetings and then also had a park survey, which was distributed online, and it solicited 389 responses. And a few notable findings from that document, the top 5 activities that were indicated were walking and cycling on the trails, playgrounds, picnic, and swimming. And then they had the top 3 focus areas that came out of that document were trails, the community center, and playgrounds. So if we get into the needs assessment, I made a document that or a map that shows our park locations. I put a line here to divide the town up into the 4 quadrants, with the 93rd going east-west and 41 going north-south. As you can see, the western side has the majority of our parks. There's an uneven distribution of park facilities in our town. And the western side has 60% of the park acreage and 70% of the park facilities. In the southeastern quadrants, by far are most efficient. The one at the top there is Civic Park, which is technically in the southeastern quadrant, but it's more of a centrally located park. I really wouldn't say it's in the southeastern quadrant. I'm not sure if it's serving those families. It's accessible to those families as it should be. Founders Park is also on there, but it hasn't been developed yet. It's right here. And then the soccer fields are down here. And for that quadrant, that's it. And this graph just further illustrates that. It shows the number of parks based on the quadrant and their acreage. The northwest quadrant has 11 parks. The southwest has 12 parks. The northeast has the 4, and then again the southeast has 3. Out of all the quadrants, the southwest is probably our most, is probably serving the residents the best in terms of the number of parks and the diversity and the amenities at those parks. And then we get into the specific facilities that that the national standards use to determine deficiencies in our park system. Right now we have 8 baseball fields, which right now it's in excess of 5. And then you can go through and see where the excesses are. The red are the deficiencies. Again, this is based on national standards. It might not apply to our specific community. Like right now, it says we're deficient in 8 tennis courts. It might not be reasonable to rush to build 8 tennis courts because I'm not sure if the demand for our town meets that. Again, these are just national standards, but it's something that, again, we can consider. To go more into these facilities, a lot of these are kind of unique. Field hockey, football, indoor and outdoor pool, a community center, and then at the bottom there you see skate park. One excess I wanted to mention there, we have 20 playgrounds, which is an unusual amount of playgrounds for a community of our size. It's based on the national standards, we have 11, in excess of 11 at the moment. So a few challenges the document identified is there's rapid growth in certain areas of town while other areas remain stable. And then it's growing at a rate that can limit planning for recreational facilities. There's also changing demographics with the increasingly aging population. From 2007 to 2016, the median age rose by 4.4 years. And that would have implications on programming. I'm interested to see the results of the 2020 census. Challenges continued. Again, the equitable distribution of facilities in the town, as we have the deficient areas that we discussed or was presented on that map. The connectivity of the facilities, so not only are some of the areas deficient, they're not connected very well to the areas that aren't. Programming, there's low participation in current programs and a lack of diversity in the programs that are being offered. In facilities, there's a lack of indoor facilities and then a lack of diversity in the facilities and amenities. A few recommendations were additional community parks and then to refrain from seeking additional mini parks. I mentioned we had 14 of those. One kind of interesting recommendation was to redevelop Civic Park. That's not technically ours. It would have to go through town council. But I think the idea was if additional ball fields were to ever be developed somewhere in town, perhaps we can use this space for something else, or the space could be used for something else. I know there's some historic ball fields out here, so we would have to probably proceed with caution if we were to go that route.
I'd have to talk to Mr. Cooperstown here to get
Right.
for the baseball.
Indoor facility, again, for programming purposes, it recommended to examine existing town buildings. The only really building it mentioned was this room for potential programs. I mean, we're kind of limited there, and I'm not sure if that, how viable that would be. To explore partnerships, which I'm doing, and then to plan for a community center. So the priority plan, if you go to page 95 in the book, I didn't really go to list it all on here in the presentation, but it identifies these items into three categories: essential, needed, and desirable. The essential items they recommended completing within 2 years of this document. The needed items, they said, should be completed within 5 years, which is the lifespan of the document. And then the desirable items are more the long-term items that should be kept on the radar but don't have to be completed immediately. And I should mention, this is a pretty ambitious plan. If you look in there, there's nearly $30 million in park-related improvements over the next 5 years. The funding sources included impact fees, bonds, donations, and then it even included other town funds. So it lays a lot out here for us, but again, not all of this could be feasible.
Right. Just more of a guideline,
Sure.
guidance.
And then the action plan starts on page 100. It even says there's several items in here that might not be feasible due to funding, and they pushed it out to 2028. But again, and those items are broken up by year, facility, budget, and funding sources. And I also wanted to mention that some of those items might not reflect the work that's actually needed. One example, it says to repair cracks at the basketball and tennis courts for $16,000 at Civic Park. The park needed a lot more work than that. We replaced the basketball court entirely for $21,000. We got quotes for the tennis courts. That's going to be upwards of $50,000 based on the work that's needed there. It needs completely dug up and redone. So some of the items, I just wanted to mention that some of the items in here might not reflect, the prices might not reflect the work that's actually needed. And then I just wanted to mention the comprehensive financial plan that was completed by the town's financial advisors. And I'm still learning how this process works because I came on kind of late, but I believe every department was consulted on projects they wanted to see in their capital improvement plan. And what you see are projects that were identified by the park board and the staff members earlier this year. The highlighted items were items that have been completed. But yeah, from what I understand, this document is not set in stone. We just have to stay within our budget. And once we decide what projects we want, they would then be incorporated into this comprehensive financial plan. So I can just keep that on there now, but that was our master plan.
And that's the overview of everything. I that was pretty good. Did Mike, Pat, did you guys have any question on any of the items that he was talking about, or?
I'm kind of in this. trying to figure out what's
Absorbing it,
absorbing
just-
I mean, it is very overwhelming.
There's a lot in there, yeah.
And I'm just gonna make a comment here that, you know, as a park board, I'm new. I have like 5 months, 6 months. Mike is new, Patrick is new. We're all new. And you're a newly appointed superintendent. We as a group, and Wayne, I think you've got some skin in the game here. You've been around the longest probably, but we collectively have not had an opportunity to really, as a group, review this, to go through this. This is our initial first time. So I think we can move to item 3C, park projects, and I think we can just open the floor for the park board itself, just to have a little discussion about some of the items that we see. And I think the goal we have here, Tyler, is to kind of identify what we would like to accomplish for 2021. And like you're saying, Mike, it's a little overwhelming. There is a lot there, and doesn't mean we have to get everything done tonight, but I think we can identify some things that maybe in 2021, there's some items that we would like to see move forward, and we can discuss that. And we can't take action, but we can discuss on items that we think are important, and then come back and review it. And with that, I think we can kind of open it up, and I would just like to comment, you know, I've had an opportunity to look at some of the items, and a couple of things that really stood out to me. One in particular was, Tyler, you did a great job pointing it out, but like, if you look at the town of St. John in the southeast quadrant, it appears that there really isn't a lot there for the community as far as the residents there. And I would like to really put a focus on that for 2021 as far as getting something engaged and something that would just be an asset and a benefit to the residents in that quadrant in particular. That's one thing. The other part along with that, and I think you made reference also, is the fact that in each of the quadrants, I think the goal is to have like a community park also. So I think the other quadrants all may have a community park, and the southeast corner again is lacking. So with that, I think we need to maybe look at, maybe next year, possibly discuss trying to purchase land for a community park and see about how we would like to develop it. But I think without getting the land, we're kind of like, we're going to be very hamstrung if we don't take some kind of action in 2021. And then just one other brief comment, and you guys can have input, but the community center. You know, there's discussion. I think that's very expensive. That's a big budget item, and again, that doesn't mean that these things are practical or feasible, but I think for a community our size and with the growth that we've seen, I think St. John is in desperate need of a community center, and I think that we need to take some kind of action in 2021, at least to investigate and initiate some kind of a, you know, not just say that we need it, but let's see the practicality. Can we get one? Where would we like to locate it at? How could we go about funding it? That type of thing. So those are kind of the thoughts that I had for 2021. Along with that, speaking of the quadrant there, I know I've heard some comments and people have brought up about in the park at the gates, maybe having a skate park. And again, not something we can take action on, but something that we can consider that maybe we need to focus on and get accomplished for 2021. So number one, I think land acquisition for community park is something that needs to be looked at for 2021 in the southeast quadrant. I would also like to put something together to see about maybe getting a community center. And then the third thing that I kind of feel would be nice, and I think that we could maybe accomplish relatively easy next year, would be a skate park. You know, we could see something being moved forward. And that's kind of my thoughts on the park projects. And with that, you know, that other, you had that other slide up, Tyler, but just the capital improvements, they do have some good items from past administrations that are worth looking at too. So, you know, again, one thing that stood out a little bit was like, you know, bathrooms for the soccer fields over there, getting permanent bathrooms. I mean, that's something maybe we need to talk about or think about. So, and I think that's very practical. Any ideas you guys have for what
Yeah.
we might be doing for 2021?
I made a couple comments just to check it out. To piggyback off what you were saying, community center, I've noticed because my daughter plays soccer. We've gone to Linwood, Ho Chunk, down to Hammond, to Crown Point, all the way down to Indianapolis. I don't know what it's going to take, but before all the building of houses in St. John and we have no more room, I think building a community center would be absolutely wonderful, where kids can go in the wintertime, seeing how we're up north. You know, I went down to Texas to play baseball because of the snow. If we have something in St. John where kids can do football inside, soccer inside, baseball inside, everything, and it might be too big for St. John, but I think that something like the Hammond Center that they just built on 41, or Linwood, or even the Bubble in Crown Point, something, I think that would go to our community. I've been here 15 years, and every time something is built, it just balloons, and there's not enough room. You know, the schools, you know, they're swollen and everything. So I think we try to get ahead of the game, which brings me to the gates. You know, like with the soccer fields and whatnot, it says like here 150,000 for the bike trail and whatnot. Is there any way, and I would need an answer for this because I don't know, is there any way to work with the builder and when they're building these homes to do some type of trail and whatnot? Because they're doing that one over with the Shillings, they're doing it on White Oak.
Right.
In that subdivision. I mean, at least it's a trail. It's some type of trail for, you know, people to walk and bike and whatnot. And permanent bathrooms. If they're going to build soccer fields, they know, you know, we all have kids, so you know you're all there all day. So that in my opinion, that should have been something brought to the builders and whatnot from the beginning. You know, so there's a plan. You know, that's all I thought. And then, Tyler, you brought up Lewis Estates. And you're like, I'm not sure why it's on there. Now, being Lewis Estates, are they responsible for taking care of that park, or is St. John responsible for it?
I don't believe there's even a park there. I think it's just a pond.
Just a pond, so
Yeah.
in essence, we're not responsible for anything over there.
I'm not sure exactly what we do with the pond, if it gets treated or,
Yeah.
We're responsible.
yeah.
Okay. And then I just have one last thing. You said that we have 20 playgrounds and 14 mini parks, and you said that it's in excessive for the what we have in the park. I believe that we should take one of them or whatnot. I mean, it's already there, it's whatnot, and make that a skate park or something if we're looking to do something like that. I'm huge on the community center, though. You know, that's my number one thing. I mean, it'd be great to have, and my kids are 12 and 14, so they're almost out of that. But I mean, I think it'd be great for, I mean, there's just young kids coming in this community day after day after day. So I mean, I think it would be an excellent thing. You know, and then you can piggyback and make money off. We just went to Hammond this weekend, and they're having the basketball. So to pick up some type of fees, they're charging people to come in to watch the 3-on-3 basketball. So I mean, that might be something for St. John to do too as well. You know, in the concession stand, or you know.
It could be self-funding, and like when I looked at the document too, just to kind of piggyback on what you're saying, they even mentioned in here to like, they brought up about Maryville, that they're building a community center. And it was funny because something just came out in the Times newspaper that I guess that project might be nearing completion or something, and that's supposed to be, and they have a lot of funding, and they're getting a lot of money, and it's going to be, but again, maybe that's somebody we can resource, interact with them, see, you know, and but yeah, the community center.
And it's always nice. I mean, you know, Mike takes care of the baseball fields. It's always nice to see the same families and whatnot, and that's how you build relationships and community in St. John. You know, we play soccer. We go out. You know, I know people all around, not necessarily from St. John, because that's not part of the community. So if we had a community center where, you know, people, even like they have a YMCA, or, you know, however you want to say it, I think that would be a great thing for all these families coming into St. John. I know it's a ton of money to build it, though.
Well, I could also tell you just from Halloween, just the kids, St. John is, with how many baseball teams? I mean, it's got to be growing, the amount of baseball teams you're getting. And
Well, I know that last year they told Colleen Grammar School they had 8 kindergarten classes, and from my understanding, Larry Veracco said, we can't accept any more kids at Colleen, because they already had 8 kindergarten classes.
Wow.
Some of that you're talking, what are they, 6, 7, 5, 6, 7 years old? You know, so if we build a community center, they'll be sophomores in high school by then, you know,
yeah.
10 years from now.
One note, Mike, you know, the park survey I mentioned, it had 389 responses, which that's not a great response rate. And it was distributed online, and I know there are advantages of doing it that way. It's simple, it's cost effective, the responses are pretty timely. But I'm concerned that, you know, a lot of the residents aren't online all that much, or might not have the knowledge or ability to complete an online survey. I'm thinking of the senior population when I say that. I feel like maybe their thoughts on the park system might not be reflected in here. And I think that's a group that we could be serving better as well. One idea that I had that is on here, or not that I had, but that was already on here, was the Lake Hills Clubhouse, which I feel like is an interesting project. The old clubhouse there was removed within the past couple years. So the idea would be to replace that with a new facility that could be used for rentals. I think the weddings could be, it could be a popular spot for weddings, given the renovated amphitheater that's there with the lake backdrop. It could also be used for family reunions, grad parties, other types of events as well. But I think it could also be used for programming, and I say that with the seniors in mind, to have a place where they could go. The idea would be maybe it could be used for programming during the week and then rented out on weekends. It would fill some of our indoor needs, you know, until a community center could get built, you know, somewhere down the road. It's not going to fill all the holes we have, but it could help, and then it would generate revenue as well in the meantime.
Do you have like some information on what it would take to renovate it, or the concept, or any of the ideas? Or?
There's actually nothing there right now. It was, the old structure was torn out, I think maybe 2 years ago.
Yeah, it's basically a blank canvas. They just redid the amphitheater.
Right.
So the amphitheater makes a great location for actual wedding ceremonies, concerts in the park. different types of activities. So I guess the thought, to kind of piggyback off of Tyler, if you have a nice backdrop, you're on the Lake Hills, there's a lot of trees, a beautiful brick bridge. I got married there, so I'm a little biased. It's great, but, so it's flat. You might have to take out some trees, I'm not sure, okay. I put in the amount, did I put in 800,000?
Well, I was gonna ask about that, Beth, because one is park capital, one is general. I'm not sure if I understand that.
Okay, yep, so this would be coming out of park capital. I think I used a placeholder of 800,000. I still speak periodically with the prior town manager, and he said I was off on my figure. He thinks a more realistic figure for this property would be about at least 1 million to 1.2 million to do it the way you would need it to be done, just so you kind of know I was off on the figure. But I think Tyler's right on that. I think it's a great location. It has a parking lot, it has the amphitheater, it has a beautiful backdrop. We have nothing to rent here if you're having a party, a graduation, a birthday, a wedding. I think that you can make, like the American Legion is around 350,000 to rent that room. I know the VFW is 400, did I say 1,000?
Yes.
Okay, I'm sorry, no. $300 or $350 to rent that room. The VFW is $400, and those are, great sized rooms, but they're basic. And so if you have something that's really nice with a good backdrop, there's opportunity to make some money there. And I agree with Tyler, for programming, you could do things maybe geared more towards seniors, bingo or different activities for them. Your play school could be held out of there. Depending on how it's designed, you could do maybe yoga indoors or at the amphitheater, depending on weather. It would fill some holes, like Tyler said, and it's definitely more doable now than a community center. My opinion, I would love a community center in St. John, and I'm with you. Our kids are on the older side, so, we kind of passed that mark for us, but I think it would be a great addition to the town. But in the meantime, something at Lake Hills, for example, would be great. I did want to mention, Tyler, do you mind, can you go back to the picture that you have of the quadrants? And I know, Mike, you mentioned land acquisition for community parks. Founders Park, I think, and Tyler, you can correct me if I'm wrong, to me, so we've already purchased this property. We closed on it a couple of years ago. We're right here. And this is more of a community park feel. So it's
Right.
already in the works. Are you looking at just more like bigger parks rather than neighborhood-sized parks?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, so I think that's what Founders Park is designed to be, at least in the plans that I've reviewed. You guys are putting in $250,000 from your capital fund, and then we received a grant for another $250,000. So it'll end up being about a $500,000 park. It's supposed to be larger in size, more of a community feel, and it's supposed to have walking paths or sidewalks where Renaissance, I don't know, I can kind of show you on here. So Three Springs is kind of in this area. So Three Springs will be able to enter the park through like the back end. Renaissance is up in this area. They're gonna have a crosswalk. I think Wayne had,
There's a crosswalk installed by Garden Way and 101st.
so they're gonna be able to access it. You've got North Gate kind of in this area, they'll be able to access it. And then the Gates, the Gates is the largest probably subdivision we have. We don't have anything in the Gates. But the thought would be that would be our larger community park as well. We have the soccer fields, which is very large too.
See, that's what I was saying, like previous, that they knew the soccer fields were coming, so they should have thought about the permanent bathrooms and whatnot. Now you got all these people coming and you're like, all right, what do we do now?
So the soccer fields and don't quote me on this, but the developer of the Gates donated that piece of property to the town. And from my understanding, when it was donated, they didn't really have a purpose per se for it at that time. And so they decided it was flat. It already had the beginnings of two parking lots, one on Klein and one off Park Place. in the gates, and so they decided, let's just go ahead and make it a soccer field, or soccer fields, plural. I don't know how many acres it is. It holds, it's an interesting piece of property because I spoke to the developer about it. Can you pull that up on the GIS? Or, you're much quicker at this than I am.
Yeah.
Well, either way, while he's looking it up, it's rectangle. And so I think there's 4 soccer fields now. Mike, am I right on that?
I think it's 3.
Is it 3?
Actually, 5 there.
Is there?
5? However many soccer fields, but they're all the larger size, and if your girls play soccer, you know, it's like regulation size for older kids or adults. And so the thought was, if you ever had additional purpose for that piece of property, you could keep 2 adult size and you could turn 2 and make them for younger kids.
Right.
And then you wouldn't lose, that's why I think there's 4.
They've made 3 smaller ones, I believe, recently.
Oh, they turned them already?
Correct.
And then you would still have room to do something else on that piece of property. It's just really spread out right now because they didn't really have anything in mind at the time that it was constructed.
See, by doing that, if you have, let's just say 3 soccer fields, and you turn to 1, now you're made 3 smaller soccer fields. All you're doing is adding more people.
Yes.
Longer days, and like I said, you know, thinking about bathrooms, concessions, and all that stuff, I mean, make it something like the baseball fields
It's a better use, and it's already there, and
for
it's,
the town.
Yes.
We also own this, there's like this little lot. So you see if I click on there's a little lot right here that is also ours.
right, so the thought was that lot, it's always, so when the developer donated this piece of property, this was always kind of considered to be a park, just a regular neighborhood type park, because you've got your soccer fields kind of down in this way. This is Klein. This has, right here is your parking lot, and then another parking lot off Park Place. So if you had your traditional park, soccer fields, and whatever you wanted to do, I know there was talk about a skate park could come down this way, and there would still be plenty of space to make it like a multi-purpose. I always say it would be almost like a mini Heartland. How Heartland has the baseball field, you've got volleyball over there, they play soccer, Midwest Ice Arena's there, you've got a park. So it kind of,
It all blends in, you got different activities.
there's different
to
activities.
choose from.
It would take what Tyler's saying is to be like an area that's a bit deficient and actually give it a purpose. And we're growing that way, right?
That's
I
where
mean,
all the buildings happen.
right. Okay, sorry. Did you want to go at all over your budget? I don't know if for 2021 or,
What do we have left for this year? Are we maxed out or?
okay.
Yeah, we can go over that, Beth, if you don't.
I know we're
if you
kind of
have
jumping
anything.
in a million directions. So for your park impact fund, okay, remember there's a difference between a fund and then the appropriation side, which is what the council will allow you to spend from the fund. Your current balance in your park impact fund is about 1.7 million. The previous council set a $500,000 budget for you this year, so that means you could spend 500,000 of that 1.7 million. You have remaining $369,000 that has not been spent this year. So the projects, like Tyler said, that you did were the Prairie West Pavilion roof, and you did Lancer. You did the 3 basketball court restorations, and then you did the Lake Hills Amphitheater restoration. We have encumbered $250,000 of that 368 remaining balance for Founder's Park. So what I'm thinking would happen here, due to COVID reasons, you guys couldn't get Founder's Park up and running this year. That PO will just move into 2021. Because as long as the money is still there, if the work was started or, you know, it was deemed to occur in 2020, we can take it and just move it. Like reserve the money for you to finish it in 2021. So you're set there for Founder's Park. And then you have what Tyler put up there. It's a little bit off. I think it's about 610,000, but that's only because yours includes operating included, I think, with the capital. So then on top of the Founder's Park, you have about 610,000 that you can spend in 2021. There's not a whole heck of a lot you can do capital-wise now that it's mid-November for the remainder of this year. So anything you don't spend just goes back into your cash reserves.
But it's basically like rolling over. We could,
Well, it's not really rolling over, it's just rolling back into your savings account. So you could make the argument to the council that due to the transitions and different things and, you know, a brand new park board, a brand new superintendent, a brand new council, you didn't really know what direction you wanted to go into, so you didn't spend, I mean, you only spent about 200 and some thousand dollars of your budget. So you could make an argument to the council that next year you would ask for an additional appropriation for the money you didn't spend in the prior year,
yes,
but it doesn't just automatically roll over.
okay, I got you.
And it all has to be approved by them, correct?
It would still, if you go above that 610,000, they'd have to give approval for you to spend over. Or it just stays in your savings account.
When would be the next time that this document gets updated as far as part of the town's?
The capital improvement plan.
Yeah.
So basically, if somebody tells me that there's a change, I will email Baker Tilly, that's our financial consulting firm. I'll email them and let them know that there's been a change. If it's not significant enough, they won't do reprinting of the document. It'll just be, like, I think we're on copy 4 revised. So they'll just keep making revisions to the most current document. The only time that they'll actually reprint and redo the entire document is if it's significant. But if there's a change, you could just let me know and I'll have them incorporate it, and at least we'll have it internally.
Let me ask you this, if we have that money out there, is that something we could, I don't know, even get rolling right now for the parking lot at Prairie West? Possibly. And I'm not talking about going through the whole, my thought is just something different, pave the lot.
You sent out an email, right?
Pave the existing lot?
No, that extension that we need without having more studies. I mean, you're parking a car. Couldn't we just expand it and have it paved?
Wayne, I
But
think,
the engineering costs and all that, after they got through with that, it was gonna be 269,000. There was gonna be 12,600 some odd dollars for grant money that we were gonna use, and that was for handicap parking. But then, when it came time to taking out the soil and more engineering costs, it went up to close to 400,000, I think.
Wayne, I think he's talking about doing it like
Bypassing all
Bob
that.
Farrison did when you guys did the original,
Okay, right.
which is just more of an in-house,
Just extend it.
right?
And if it, maybe 20 years from now, if we need to do something different to it, how long is that parking lot that's there? How long is that?
I think there's 2 sections there. One was the
Say they keep
original,
adding.
and then you'll see the seam in the parking lot, and that was done in, maybe '04 or '06.
And the original was done when, roughly?
That I don't know when that park was set up. But they put in the bathrooms and stuff. Parking lot is starting to alligator, but it held up all these years. I mean, we got use out of it.
I mean, if it's permissible, I mean, without doing all this extraordinary, I would just prefer that we take some of this money we have, I mean, down the road here and maybe in the next meeting and just extend and pave it.
So just go all the way down to where the stakes are
Yes,
and create whatever amount of spaces that is. And
yeah. Something's better than nothing, and I mean, I think, that, you're parking a car, I mean, we can maybe put up a sign, no heavy equipment or, semis to be in there or something, but I think a car would probably be okay. They park there now when they,
Well, so that could be a possibility, we'll find out.
I mean, that's, and then whatever we have, maybe we could get the ball rolling on that before the end of the year. and-
Well, I know the paving, they're done for the year. I think that they typically wrap up, the first week in November, the latest,
They probably got maybe
with the weather that,
November, maybe mid-November before the plant shut down.
Yeah, once the
That's not
temperature
there.
drops, that's it, they're done.
It's already the
Yeah, they'll
12th.
say so.
Well, I'm not saying necessarily get it paved this year, but
right,
contact the vendor, say, hey, what would you charge us to pave this? And
right.
Ball rolling.
pay it out, and then when the weather breaks, just pave it.
Especially you do it at a fraction of a cost of 400,000.
I think the community would be happy with that. Why would you spend 400,000 for,
400,000, if you put 400,000 in that parking lot, you could build a skate park on the other side of the town for that. And and that parking lot's already there,
yeah,
so something to look into.
okay.
Gabe had a question.
Yeah, Gabe?
So, going back to the parking lot, you could essentially not go out to bed, but you could reach out to your people who do this kind of work, give them what we found, and ask them what their best idea is to do it within a cost of budget, and then pick one out of the 4 people who we go out to bid with, or go out to, I mean, what would you call that process?
Close bid?
Request a purchase?
Oh, it's a, like, proposal. So they'd give us a proposal of what the work would cost and what they would do for specs. These guys that do this work, they're not college educated, most of them, but they know what they're doing. This is their livelihoods and they're good at it. So these guys have done a lot of work in different towns, different areas. They can get the job done. Again, it wouldn't hurt just to say, what do you think would hold up? Because sometimes on paper is way different than actually doing it, as we all know. So, I mean, some of these guys know what they're doing. There's some really good companies out there. You can reach out to them, tell them our findings, which we already know our findings with bad ground and what we have, and get their feedback from them that way. I'm sure there'd be no cost for that.
I'd be all for that myself. What do you
You
think?
could probably, like you said, cut that in half, if not more than half.
Okay, would you know, when do they, if we got all of this ball rolling and everything, when would they be able to start come next year? Like March?
Late March,
Late March? Okay.
late March.
I think that's
Thank you.
worth,
I guess definitely.
They do it, do you know? You guys were here.
Yeah.
You both were.
Okay, so I could tell you that I took part right there on 93rd. There is bad ground there, some of that road. I worked with an outfit for like a lot of years. So we actually dug down, I don't know, 3 feet, 5 feet below the road surface. We added stone, we added a blanket, we added a lot of drain tile, we tied it into the storm sewers. We added more stone on top of that, and then we added 2 or 3 binder coats. It's held up pretty good over at 93rd. A lot of drainage pipe in there. Again, it's a parking lot. If 93rd's holding up, which has been 8 years, 9 years so far, and before they did the recent construction to it, it used to flood all the time, right in that one lower area.
Right.
So now it doesn't flood as much, but it held up. There's a lot of drains underneath there as far as like drain tile, and that takes the water and all the dampness out and like away. So, I mean, these guys know what they're doing.
So, but it was a combined project between Public Works and an outside contractor.
Correct. We used Public Works workers for labor, and then we used other contractors to run the bulldozers, to shoot grade and all that, just to make sure it was there. So that cuts costs. In the past, I know that I was part of redoing Alcott Bridge. There was 2 or 3 of us from Public Works with another outfit, and we did the whole thing from start to finish. Reconstructed everything. I mean, we helped with the curves, we helped rip all the pipe out, put new pipe in. So, I mean, this is, And then it also helps as a tool to teach your newer people in public works as far as construction, labor, how to do certain stuff, skills that we need from day-to-day operations in town, while saving money on labor costs.
I think it's worth our while to explore that, to see if we can, you know,
Not saying that we would use public works for the whole thing. I'm just saying that
let's look at
you
it.
could contract stuff out to different companies or, and still just, we act as the like GC, and we say, you're gonna do this portion, you're gonna do this portion, and just cut some, like, red tape out.
I think that'd be worth looking into.
Well, it's definitely needed. I think one of the frustrating parts with some of our parks is we have a ton of small ones, right? But even some of the bigger ones have limited parking. There's 50 parking spots at Prairie West right now.
You know?
And granted, St. John the Evangelist, I think they helped us out with our Boo Bash event. I think they help out with other town events as well, to open up their parking spot. And, people definitely used it. They were filing down 93rd all morning. But no, I mean, it would be great to have more parking there. It's needed. I love to do more events there,
I would too. I think we should, maybe before the end of the year, see if we can capture something there and, use the money we have. I'm really intrigued with the Lake Hills Clubhouse. We do have a little bit of money for this year. Maybe we could appropriate some money to, I don't know, initiate looking on getting something like, Beth had commented, we have a blank canvas there. If you guys feel like that'd be something, I mean, we do have some money in reserves or that's available in our funding. Maybe start doing something towards Lake Hills, maybe. Kind of a stopgap until we get, not saying that we're not gonna move forward in 2021 with the community center, but this, I think, that's a real good stopgap in my opinion.
I definitely like the idea of the Lake Hills Clubhouse, redoing that. That was always, every weekend there's weddings in there. That was always, and then they once it started kind of falling apart, then they started doing the haunted house through there, just until it basically did fall apart.
Yeah, it was falling apart when it got.
It was a beautiful building, with just, it did croaked.
So going back through all the files I could find, I think I only had one picture of that clubhouse I could find. Do you know approximately how big it was?
Well, somebody that was involved, could you comment, Beth?
I had my 8th grade graduation there. I don't know.
That wasn't long ago.
It wasn't long ago. I don't remember. It was a beautiful building.
It was all masonry, the old stone, and you came in at
Clay tile roof,
there was
I
one
think.
level, then you'd have a second level, then they had the upstairs. And depending what kind of wedding you're at, it's like you'd have like your dinner downstairs, then you go upstairs, which is almost like a little ballroom where it was all wooden floors, and that's where you have your dance floor. I mean, the whole concept of that place was beautiful.
Right.
But
I guess
don't know.
I've worked at other facilities that hosted weddings, and usually the standard number was about 200 for a guest list. I didn't know if that was large enough or that lot was big enough to fit a facility of that size, or
A lot's bigger now than it was. A lot bigger.
How's the parking? How many parking spots you got over there?
I don't know how many spots are there. But I mean, it's four or 6 rows deep.
Can they park on the street as well?
I mean, they can, but
Well, I'm just saying, because I didn't know if
right,
it was.
if you had to, I mean,
Yeah.
kind of the idea there was putting
That's
the
good,
if
Pat,
you have
yeah.
to.
If we got 200 people coming for something, you'd
Right.
wanna have,
Just want to make sure it's not a cookie cutter clubhouse.
Right.
Because there's some of these that you walk there, it's just a perfectly square building. And you walk in, it's just like this exactly, like this room right here.
Right.
And that's your clubhouse, this is all you get. You want something a little where it's not just one, here it is.
distinct, something
Right,
distinct.
right, exactly. Something where 50 years from now, people are like, wow, they did a good job,
Or you draw people, people want to have their event there. Rather
Right.
than just a room like this, You can get that anywhere.
And just to clarify, you want to have weddings and parties there, but that would not contain a full-scale kitchen or anything like that. Everything there would be catered in, because I know if people are listening, they're gonna say, wow, that's gonna cost a lot of money with kitchen, but we're not gonna have any of that kind of stuff.
No, it would just be a
Well,
serving.
it'll be scaled down, it won't be where you're gonna cook, steak and all kinds of stuff in there. It may be some warmers or something for somebody's food, but,
Or unfair, but in St. John Evangelist, their basement, how they put that little kitchen in down there.
yeah,
Like something like that where you have your basic,
Right.
your basic.
maybe a dishwasher or something for
right,
dishes, whatever. but-
Refrigerator.
So.
Right.
Because that's perfect. It's like a,
The church?
Yeah.
I'm thinking like Suncrest Church.
Yeah, like a
And there on the side, they have like.
kitchen, yeah,
Kitchen.
just
Right.
regular kitchen, sink and all that type of stuff.
oh, definitely. I mean,
I can tell you, we've already received interest to rent the amphitheater for next summer, spring, summer. So, yeah, I could see it being rented every weekend if we were able to get something like that put in.
Could you maybe inquire and see about,
I think it's something we could put on our list. Then kind of we gotta
Probably be
start
a regular
itemizing like,
builder, don't you think? Like a builder, a regular builder could
No.
do that? No? Or like a local, one of the local builders? Half of those houses out there in Lake Hills are probably bigger than the clubhouse.
right, exactly.
that's a good point.
Right, I don't know. And they do some unique work.
And why couldn't they work with the park department to do something?
I don't know. I just-
And, yeah, everybody can't just donate everything, but maybe even give a good deal or something.
And one thing on the community center, like you're talking two different things. You're talking like a sports complex. Like the dome is a sports complex. That's indoor sports field, which is awesome. I like both ideas. And a community center to me seems more like a fitness point in Munster where, like maybe you have a pool in there, you have like a fitness center, like a track, where, your older people, they can enjoy it to where they're not gonna, nobody's gonna go to the sports centers or like the sport complex. So that's something we kind of need to decide which way we're going on that.
And that's what I was saying, you guys are bringing up with the older people in St. John, and I completely understand that. Where I'm at with my kids is even younger, like I said, with all the kids in kindergarten and whatnot, there is just, the youth is just flying into St.
Well, I
John.
mean, that dome is awesome.
Well,
I mean,
yeah,
all of our
everybody-
travel teams go out there.
Everybody gotta be, counted in
Sure.
with whatever.
So a facility I worked at before, essentially it was a senior center from about 8 a.m. to noon, and then we had a little downtime, and then once school let out, it became something completely different. The kids were filing in there, and we had programming for them. So, yeah, I mean, it could be a true community center. It serves everybody.
So, and that's what I'm saying. So I was just throwing ideas out there because I've been to all these different places, and whatever everybody agrees upon, I'm good.
Well, and I know what you're talking about, Mike, too, but like when we lived in Highland, they had the Lincoln Center, which was unique, and they had I played in basketball leagues over there. They had like weights for whoever wanted to join the Lincoln Center, and elderly people, and they had a track that they could walk around. I think they did a little more like what Tyler's talking about. It was after like noon or something, they're all taking naps or whatever, and that's a good thing to do. And then you had the younger people coming in the afternoon and the evening, so I think a community center of that type would be feasible, but yeah, something else as a sports complex would be like stage 2.
And I'm not saying I'm picking either one,
No,
but
I'm
kind of
just
what
saying
you were
that-
saying seemed like we're talking two different things.
Right.
Well, and in here too, it did say, and I don't know if it's with the finances and liability and all that, but like they even talked about a pool in the community center. I mean, that would be great, but I mean, that
I
right
don't know if you
away.
guys have ever been to Fitness Point in Munster. And it kind of reminds me of like an upscale
Scale.
Omni. Because you have like a basketball court in there, you have the gyms in there, you have the pool in there, there's a track in there. I mean, it's
Right.
a little bit of everything. To where it's more of like that, to where it's kind of, you still have sports in there, and you still have your, you can do your yoga and all your different classes in there.
Well, I think the first thing would be to like try and capture, or, we need to get some information, and maybe we could resource Maryville. Obviously, it wouldn't be on that scale, I wouldn't think, because they have a lot of donations over there in Maryville, but I think we could, look into how they've done it, what their ideals were, and it looks like they got a lot of donations. And, with the way the town's grown here, there could be considerable amount of groups that maybe would want to donate to something like that, so. But if, we at least have to get the ball rolling for 2021 for the community center.
Also, the skate park, I really like the idea of a skate park.
I do too.
Like, I think that's something we should put, I think the clubhouse, I think we're right there, like, that's on there. I think this is my opinion. I think a skate park should be up there towards the top, putting it out in that Gates area. Go ahead, Gabe.
All right, so I reached out to a couple different people already. I think Hammond spent roughly around $500,000 for a skate park. That's from start to finish, engineering, soil sampling. Crown Point just went back out to bid. They had some complications with the people they chose. They're hoping to be right at around $500,000, all concrete. They were one of the first people to actually do skate park. They did the above ground ramps. They are now being torn down probably as soon as this new park is completed because the ramps are in bad shape. I asked the Parks Department, I said, do you guys regret putting that up? She says, no, at the time it served its purpose. It held up for X amount of years. Kids got a good use out of it. Our community got a good use out of it. The square before they had that had a lot of misuse from skateboarders, cyclists, people on scooters. And when they built that park, they saw a drastic decline in the misuse of the town square. Because now these people had an outlet, these kids, these teenagers, young adults, had an outlet to go and do this. I think right now, as I brought up in the last meeting, we're seeing a lot of damage, wear and tear, like on the amphitheater and some of our park benches, some of the sidewalks, the curbs. The kids are very creative. They will find anything and use it for their needs. Sometimes these needs aren't in accordance to what it was purposed for from the original onset. So if we can give them that need, I think our overall cost for repair, for destruction of other park properties or town properties will go down. So therefore, you can kind of look at it as you're going to save some money somewhere else down the line by putting this in. There's a couple different groups. There's like two different groups that I know of that actually build parks. Hammond went with one, and Crown Point went with another. These parks, all they do is build skate parks. So they come in, they kind of help you. They come to the meetings. They reach out to your public. They put you in the right direction, and they give you the steps you need to do. And they kind of like act as a middleman or the head leader on getting the job done. And so people, for a department our size, taking a project on like that would be a little hefty. So maybe going that route wouldn't be such a bad idea because you would have someone who knows, who's been down that route. That way there's not one step missed. That way we're not coming to you saying, you know what, we dropped the ball. We didn't know we had to do this. And now we can't put this park in until this time, or the cost is going to go up X amount of dollars. We have seen this happen, so this could happen. I talked to a gentleman, what's his name? Adam. He works for a company which I don't have off the top of my head, but his company built the one in Hammond. He said he would love to come out and take pictures of any of the sites that we'd like, all for free, whatever, and kind of give you like a mock-up of what he could foresee. He has a drone. He said he would mock everything up based on your needs or wants of park areas, and then give you a whole presentation. Come out to a meeting, give a presentation, and go from there. I'm sure that the other people or the other group that does this would do the same thing. I mean, this is a good opportunity for them to make money and to help us out. I know that that St. John's been reached out to before in the past and has declined to even look into it.
Well, I like the prospect of maybe having 2 or 3 that have those capabilities of all having
Right.
input into something like that. So if that's something that the park thinks that they want to do, have them all competing for it, 2 or 3.
It's going to cost nothing to have them come out and just give you.
Right. to
Ideas,
look at
different
it.
ideas. How long does it take to build one of those?
I think she said from start to finish, it was like 4 months.
Oh, really?
You know what, and I like, not to cut you off, like what Pat was saying earlier, and I know that the town is tying in a lot of our trails and paths. You guys committed to that, Wayne, right? And it'd be ideal, like, if we're gonna do that, maybe if we could work something with the paths and trails, because I see kids on my street, I see skateboards, we got a lot of kids in our area, that'd be nice.
You bring up a good point. Gates East, which is across Klein on the other side, same developer that the Gates has, and he is planning on doing bike trails to lead into the Gates. So that would be
If we could blend it.
blend it in there, and then I know there's been discussion that the Gates doesn't have bike trails, but they do. They're just concrete. Those really, really wide sidewalks. They used to be asphalt, and they were ripped out and they were
Right.
turned into concrete. So the goal or the thought process with Founders Park would be being able to kind of lead all the way from Founders Park. You just have to cross Parish, which there's no way around that, but you're able to do that. You're able to get.
On the north end there, because
Yes.
they do have the big sidewalks,
They do.
don't they?
Yes.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's definitely, when you talk about being connected, it's connected back there, and the developer has a desire to connect from Gates East back to Gates, and so you're started, and then you have a partial bike trail already around that area as well. It just needs to be finished. So you kind of got it, you have a good blueprint. It's just kind of finishing maybe some of those projects. You know, Highland used the same company as Hammond. I think it's called Spoon or Spoon Ranch, I don't know how you pronounce it.
There's,
And one of my attorneys, he's the attorney for Hammond, and he said they did, a phenomenal job, and they were very happy with the whole project. I guess Hammond has the biggest skate park,
Crown Point will beat them.
but Crown Point will beat them.
Well, of course.
Yeah, so,
Again, it's
Yeah, Crown Point, boy.
Dean Whiteville.
Yeah.
Makes it nice.
And if you
Don't have
guys, if
one
you
of
guys
those.
decided to have those presentations, would it be a good idea to have kids that live in the town come and give their ideas of what they would like?
So I think the first step would be just to give a presentation, and then that was part of his thing. It'd be like maybe 4 to 5 meetings that he would attend, and he would get the community active in it. As far as the kids, there would be surveys as far as how many skateboarders you have, how many bicyclists you have, how many scooter kids you have, and based off that, he can get you a more accurate design of what you need based off your community for ramps. The Parks Department from Crown Point said they were shocked to learn they thought they would have more like cyclists than skateboarders, and she was wrong. So based off that, she said she was happy that this process took place, because that way they kind of gave their residents exactly what they needed.
and so if that's something you guys wanted to pursue, I would have Tyler maybe just reach out to Nicole, because I know with the SCADA system, this back and forth on how the process would work. If you're looking at companies to come out and do kind of like a request or for proposals and things, like maybe the first thing you would do is notice it in the paper that you're looking for these requests. I don't know. I just don't want to see you guys.
Take a
There's
whole
a lot
year to
of
do
question
it.
on if you hired a company like this, I'm gonna call it Spoon Ranch, and they came and they started putting in the groundwork, would they be able to put in a request to do the work, you know? So just, Tyler, I would suggest talking to Nicole to say this may be something they're interested in pursuing. pursuing. Here's how it worked, and I know they both do legal counsel in Hammond as well, so they may be familiar with how that process worked in Hammond. Just so you make sure you don't wanna get stuck. It took months of like going round and round in circles on the SCADA system. You don't wanna get in that like downward spiral if it's something you
Right,
wanna do. So
right.
just from the get-go, find out exactly what is the most time efficient and effective way to do something like that.
So Hammond went with the one company. Crown Point had a different agency come out, and they did the specs, this and that, but still went out to bid because of the price. So they had no way, for their council and their mayor, they had no way going around it but to go out to bid. But they still had a company do all the meetings, draw the specs up, do all the footwork, all the legwork was handled by that company. Again, that company designs parks. So they said that, of course, they'd love to build it because who can build it better than the person who thought of it? But they do understand if you have to go out to bid, then you have to go out to bid, and they do that process as well.
Okay, yeah, that's something. I think maybe for 2021, maybe research that. Tyler, you can,
Sure, yeah.
we can bring it up maybe the next meeting and see.
I was on the park board many moons ago, and a few of us wanted a park, back then, and it was just frowned upon. I would say 2006, 7. It just would be it would be, in my opinion, a great addition to the town, because, what's the word you use, like diversified or whatever?
Yeah.
You always tell me this.
You have a lot of kids over there.
It's just a lot.
Compared to the west side where, where I'm at, like, using Trick or Treat for a perfect example. We maybe had 25, 30 kids come by our house, which isn't a lot. 10 years ago, there was twice that. You talk to different people around the area, they're really not getting anything. We hear everybody in the gates, they had 220, and it's just like, whoa.
It's unreal.
It's like,
And
there's so many kids, that's why, like,
And they're just
diversify,
building.
that would be a
More.
perfect
Yeah,
place.
they're
And these are
building
little
over.
kids.
They're just building and building over there, so there's gonna be
Right.
more and more.
They're desperate right now for bus drivers, and they can't. It's like they're being overwhelmed. It's a lot. We definitely need something.
And with the parking lots, it's not like people from the west side of town or other communities, Cedar Lake, Lowell, they can still come, park in the parking lot. It just would be nice for people on the east side to have something.
But we have Heartland. That's,
Right.
there's thousands of people there every weekend. They go to that, that's awesome. It would be nice to have something on that side.
My kids get me every time we're at Heartland. Why couldn't we live in, Silver Leaf or Saddle Creek, because they cut right through?
Yeah,
And,
Right.
yeah.
Yeah, I'm like, sorry.
So it would be nice to have something like that over there, and obviously it can take time, but,
Yeah.
that's why, if you guys like that idea, the skate park clubhouse,
Yeah, I
these
think
other
it's
things
great.
for next year we should look at.
Skate
We're still just starting, but
the clubhouse and
bring it up in the meeting.
yeah, get it on the agenda maybe to consider looking into it. And then
Also with the skate park, I think we should put a bathroom out there. And I don't know if we'd be able to do it in the same year, because I think I don't know how much a bathroom costs. What did they say this one was, 80,000? That might be overkill.
it shows here
Yeah, it's like-
150. It had a budget. Am I wrong, or didn't it show 150 for the bathroom?
Because when I say 80, he pointed up like really fast, so I just threw that out. But that's something, like if we can't do that in 21, maybe in 22, put a bathroom out there with whatever else we're doing.
Yeah, I think it would be closer to 60 or 80. 150 sounds pretty high.
Yeah.
It would at least be nice to know that you would have that in the plan, so you know to plan around it.
Right. So when we're doing the skate park, we can say, well, we want to build eventually put a bathroom. They can kind of figure that out there, maybe more towards, like wherever the park is, more towards the soccer fields. So if you're doing the soccer, you don't have to walk all the way to the parking lot. Maybe somewhere in the middle. I don't know, it's just a thought. Obviously this is future, but that's what I was thinking for
Well,
that.
I think things that perhaps we could definitely get accomplished next year would be, I would hope, the clubhouse and the skate park. 'Cause again, not trying to neglect that quadrant, southeast, but I think a skate park would be exceptional. And I gotta agree with you, and I think you were saying it too, Pat, that, if you're gonna do that, may as well, with the soccer field, you gotta have a bathroom. So we should look into getting a permanent
Well, then
restroom.
there's a trail there, I think you can extend that trail. Isn't there a trail along that one side, the south side? Or,
That was the $150,000 that was already in the plan.
and the water main's right there that you can get the water for the bathrooms. I don't know where the sanitary would hook up at.
So maybe that trail can be done cheaper. That was done through, I believe, grant money before. I'm not sure.
Depending on, I'm just thinking about this, and Mike, you would know more with the concession stands over for baseball, but if you did a small bathroom and a small concession stand and you just had that town, like I know a lot of communities, they have the concession stands and they kind of reap the benefits of the concession stand. That might be a good way to kind of help fund it. Because soccer, I think Sharonville Soccer Club uses that.
They do,
area.
yeah.
That thing's packed during soccer season, and then you throw in a skate park. I'm sure people will be,
Right.
Well, Crown Point Parks runs all their complexes.
okay.
Like here, it's like how St. John Youth Baseball runs that complex. Their Parks Department actually runs the concessions and everything there. So they actually, but they also have employees out there that maintain it instead of the actual baseball
Right.
parents and board members. But I mean, that's a thought too.
Right. That's just.
If you were to put like a concessions with the bathrooms, now we're going up in money, but, so now we're talking 22.
And we're adding the bathrooms.
But that's why we're here, because now we're like, maybe that's a great idea. We want a skate park and we want to get, like a
We're adding the
two-story.
bathrooms. We're adding somebody to have to clean them and all that kind of stuff as well.
You can do everything in stages too.
Absolutely, right, there you go, right.
Well, I think Beth was just being polite because I said 150 and she was trying to cover.
Yeah.
Thank you, Beth.
He's got a budget, I just figured.
Yeah, I was actually thinking of the concession stand, but I didn't want to,
I think that's a better idea than when I said the bathroom, like, well, that's actually a better idea,
yeah.
make one like a
A
concessions.
combo.
And I like how they have, the girls softball and boys, they're very similar, where it's like a square structure and they have an upstairs.
Yeah.
You put an upstairs on, you can leave it just raw wood for now, kind of like the fire station's upstairs. Eventually, whatever we decide, or if, whatever, we could fill that out as a, like a press box, how they have there.
Yeah.
You put tables up there, you can have meetings up there,
You can extend the washroom out.
If you have stuff like that, you could sponsor some kind of soccer tournaments, maybe through the
And
park.
that's your clubhouse, so all your, your officials are upstairs, they meet up there, they have,
We're at, that
Yeah,
new
I
Crown
like
Point
that.
one by the Dome, I don't know. They played Pop Warner, we played a Pop Warner football game. And
Right.
it was actually a soccer/football, now it was all turf and really nicely done. But I don't know how difficult it would be to do soccer/football fields out there, so they're multi-purpose and you can, again, it's just another,
well, Lake Central, their football field is a soccer field.
oh, it is?
Yes.
Okay,
Because they play on that field, and I don't know what the difference is, why you play here and not there, but they do play games out there. They have ones on wheels, they roll them out there. So, and they have like, in the corners, they have markers where they actually put the poles into the turf, like where they put some kind of an insert in there. Now turf, that's funny you said that, because just for the heck of it, has nothing to do with the Parks Department. But we're doing a huge project right now. It's gonna probably be like 50,000 on the Babe Ruth field. Just on a whim, I'm like, how much would it cost to turf this? Over $1 million just for that one baseball field. Over $1 million. It's like,
but we could have a.
and that was as far as I did on that conversation, but
Artificial?
artificial, right?
We could
It's a
paint
turf.
it, we could cut
Because
it.
basically they come in and they take out like a foot of the soil, and they come in and put all new, whatever they put in for drainage and gravel.
Drains and all that stuff.
Right.
The grains, yeah.
So they gotta take all that out and put everything in new. And I wanted some in front of the dugouts on the field 4, because those are dirt. I'm like, how much would it be just to turf those? And I think I wanna see that was like $3,000 or $4,000 just for too little. I'm like, never mind. It's like,
Just one more thing. So going back on the Gates area, one other idea that I was just thinking about is, hitting up on being like a functional area. There's already a pond there. Our neighborhood is surging with fish, with people who fish. Kids, adults. They're out there all the time, walking down the street, their little tackle box. These kids are good. I think Tyler said he had a fishing derby with the parks, and these kids showed up with grade A equipment. They didn't come like with their Mickey Mouse Clubhouse tackle box. They came to fish. So I think we could use that park, maybe put it like a little deck or a pier right there off that pond. It's right there on the same park property. And then you could even include fishing on there. Even if you just cleaned up the overgrowth and did nothing, and just to give people access to that pond.
Do those ponds tie into each other, or are they all?
Yes, they all tie into each other, correct.
What property are you talking about, Gabe?
This is on the Gates soccer field, just adjacent to it. I think the HOA owns it, but I can't foresee it being a problem to working with the HOA and to working with whoever owns it, just to clean it up, to give kids access to it.
Are you talking about the longer one?
One highlighted there?
One that's going north and south, one's going east and west.
The one that's going to be going east and west.
That one, you've got the cursor, no, that one.
But that's right off that soccer field. It's on the same
Right.
the same boundary. I don't think we own that property, but just to mow the grass down, not even do a deck, just mow the grass down, give them access down to it, just for another point. Just to, you know what I'm saying? Just to say, maybe just throw some benches in. Or just put a couple benches in here or there into the ground, just to give them somewhere to do, just an activity to go there and do. I mean, that's a positive activity. Who can argue it's fishing, right? I mean, this year with our situation with COVID, I've seen fishing throughout all our ponds go up. I mean, people are out and about all day long fishing. Because when you're in isolation, what most can you do for 8 hours but fish, I guess. So that would be a good idea, I think, to say that we have this at a park. Not everyone has fishing at their parks. So maybe we have something that the Crown Point or Hammond doesn't have, you know, and we have good fishing, I guess.
I like it.
I had a couple of little things. I don't know if this will be more for this year, smaller projects. The deck, what do you call it? The Babe Ruth, what do you call that? The deck, whatever, the stairs go up.
For the
and
press box.
For the press box, that's ready to fall apart. I mean, it's when you go up there, the railing is not even connected on the bottom anymore. I mean, I think that's something that needs to be taken care of. I mean, I think it should be taken care of immediately, but I think that's something we should definitely look into, and you guys can be like, that's a dumb idea. But that's something that's something we can do now. I mean, I know a regular house deck is 10 or 12,000, so I don't think it would be that much. I think it'd be probably half of that, if that. But I think that's something that definitely needs to be taken care of because it's,
Well, the other part is if it's a safety thing, I think you gotta,
I don't know if anyone's been out there. You might have been out there. I don't know if you ever
I
shook
haven't
that
looked.
railing.
It's all old looking,
I mean, it's probably as old as that press box. I don't know if that was put up originally in 2002 when they built the field. If it was, that's probably why it's, I mean, it's, if you go up to the railing, it's like, it's
it
rickety.
can't be a liability.
Right. So that's something I don't know if we want to put on the agenda, that's, if you guys think that's something we should look into, or we're not in a hurry for that, or, you know.
Are there dads in the league that would say, okay, if we got the material?
I think they would have already done it.
Okay.
I can't get people to help me put sand down on a field, or use a rake. Because everybody pays their money and like, hey, I pay, you guys do the work.
Right.
It's like, well, it's kind of the idea, we're all supposed to help each other out, but it's
I know
very
I've been
difficult
there.
people, you know, that's a thought, if we want to bring it up to the
Wayne,
meeting. or-
I'm going back a ways here, but when my boy did Little League, all the dads umpired. You didn't pay anybody.
Yeah, when we did football with my son, everybody was pitching in.
It's a little different now.
It's kind of like, see ya.
And then one other thing was the back of Heartland. I brought this up earlier in the year. I don't know if you guys were here or not. But where the ice rink is, it's kind of like a square going around the building. And then when you go to the Heartland Fields, I would like to put a gate there for the winter times. You know, when it's winter, you just put that like a steel gate or a wooden, I don't know.
Well, that little entrance way to go from one to the other.
Well, where the vehicles can't go back there, because
Right.
the town just doesn't plow back there once it starts snowing. And it would basically just shut that off, because all that happens in the winter back there, people take their cars back there, they dump couches and stuff in the dumpster, they get out there with their stereos, they're drinking out there, they're partying out there. I got that idea from a neighbor. He's actually the closest house to the ice rink and the ball field. He goes, I love when the lights are on. He goes, I love when the kids are out here. He's like, the only thing is, he goes, when you guys aren't playing, he goes, the cars out here jamming their music in the winter. He's like, I just wish you guys, could put a gate here or something. Once the season's over, which it's over now, you just close the gate and it's locked. Town has a passcode or a padlock or whatever on it. and then nobody could get back there. I think those gates are relatively cheap. I don't have any clue.
There's no way to bypass that then and go around the sides. That one side might have trees.
But it's just like anything.
Yeah.
You can get around anything.
Right.
And it's like I brought up before about the bike paths, and I think you gave me the idea, I don't know if it was you or Chip, to where, like the Shillings put it in their subdivision where they have the bike paths. They put those little 12 by 12, they're not logs, but it's lumber.
It's like a 12 by 12 long piece of lumber cut on an angle.
Yeah, and you have two in the grass and one dead center of the trail, so no car can get down that trail.
Yeah.
And if you need to, there's a little, like a padlock. You take the lock off, pull it down, and that middle piece comes out, and then a town truck or whatever can drive through there to do whatever has to be done.
And they have that back there by the Kilkenny tank.
Exactly. They have it in Kilkenny on the new
89 Ford.
preserve. If you're going down White Oak, you'll see they have it right there
Right.
on the different entrances, so cars can't get down the trail. That would be the other thing to do, so cars don't get on the trail.
Right.
But I think if that's something for little, if we have money left, little cost, I think those are a couple things that we should look into.
I don't see a problem with that.
I just want to get your ideas, because I could bring those up under whatever,
Oh,
next meeting or
but
something.
we're talking about stuff to initiate in 2021. Those are simple. We can knock them out, get them out of the way.
I mean, even.
Well, actually,
we
the
could
gate-
probably get this year in
The
December.
gate with the resources we have, we could look into that. If you could look into that.
Sure. You have two different types. There's, looks like a little angle where the gate kind of goes out and they kind of hook to where when they're open, there's like a little lock underneath that holds it open. Or like Central has on their back gate, it's a big yellow gate and it slides like on wheels.
Right.
So it'll pull this way, but I don't know if there's a good area to put that. I'm probably thinking more of the opening gates like that would probably be
It's
cheaper
just
and
something
better.
restricted, just.
And that's what I'm
You got that playground on the right side when you're going in,
Right, you wouldn't be able to push it that way. You'd push it more towards the fence on the
Right.
other side, but I don't know where that is in.
And there's some trees and stuff
Right.
there that would
So
work.
I'm thinking it'd probably be better with the opening ones. I was just trying to throw it off you
Can't
guys.
cost that much, I wouldn't think, but we can ask.
Right. And maybe look at getting those, if we're doing that, put those, what do we call those, trail blockers?
Right.
Because Chip sent me those things, he goes, those things are nothing.
No, they can't be hardly anything.
I think, did the town put those in, or you don't have any idea?
I don't recall.
Were we gonna do that Larimer too? Keep them.
We actually put the no parking striping down on the asphalt, the no parking sign there, just to keep it open. We kept it open just because if a town vehicle's gotta get in there, or like an emergency vehicle, like a ambulance has to get in there, we didn't really wanna obstruct it.
Right. How did the fenced area in Heartland Park now, are people dumping anything back there? Or
Very, very little.
it stopped?
I mean, it's just enough that it's enough for harassment, they're not throwing stuff back there. I actually just went back there 2 days ago. There's a couple hubcaps and a lot of poop bags in there. Oh, that's something. Do you want garbage cans out there? Because I put them all away, except there's one still at Babe Ruth.
No, I don't.
And I was gonna put it away, then I'm like, due to the fact that I think it was all poop in there, I'm like, well, maybe we need to keep those in there because then they're just gonna be throwing them, or should we just take your poop home with you? I mean,
That's what they should be doing.
that's what I'm thinking, but I'm like, I know you're gonna be picking them up, you guys.
Just off the parking lot, not in the back towards the complex. I know Babe Ruth right up front, where the bleachers are. That's, for some reason, that's a hot spot.
And I put one of those away, and I was going to put the second one away, then I'm like,
Pretty heavy.
I'm like, maybe you want that there, that's why I didn't.
Fine.
I can put it up, because I usually we put them in the dugouts. That way nobody can get to them, and
Right.
if you want me to, I'll put that one away too.
And if you can keep one out,
Okay, there's one out still.
that and T-ball right there,
Is that T-ball one out?
I'm not sure. I don't think so. I mean, if you put that back out,
Okay, I was thinking, because as long as you're gonna be changing them,
yeah, I'll change.
because I don't want to be doing it in the winter.
I get it.
I mean, I can, but
No, you're fine. I get it. I didn't even know that was a thing until I started this job, so. It's a thing though. There's hot spots, so.
yeah, a lot of poop bags.
Okay, good.
At least they're picking
Well,
it up.
moving along now, because we, well, at least they didn't light them and then knock on your doorbell, so.
And the other thing to look into in the future, I know somebody said about Civic Park. it's not like you guys might be getting away from the whole baseball idea, but I think until we get away from the baseball idea, like you're saying, if we did get more land and put more fields, and I think we're talking 10 years or 5 years, whatever that was. In the meantime, I think we need to put a little money into it ourselves.
Well, the buildings out there, the sheds, they probably could be refaced with new wood, because it's.
Refaced with wood, I mean, the
It's-
batting cages out there are terrible.
The
I mean,
batting cages are probably 20 years old.
at least.
I reached out for quotes for that already, so that's in the works, just to
Okay.
see what it would cost. I'm not saying I'm gonna do it, just to know what I'm up against. That is in the works already.
And then, like, I know some of the dugouts out there are just, they're beat up. And the part with the baseball and the town, it's two different, or the parks in the town.
My whole thing is, as a community, if that's our community, you gotta maintain it. I don't want it looking nasty or anything.
Well, one thing I've learned is we always went to the town council
Yeah.
to ask for money for those
I-
fields. And I realized we probably should have went to the parks, because we were always turned down. We're like, we were looking for $3,000 for all new material. We want to get all new lips out there. Because the lips out there, if the ball hits it, it's like,
Well,
It is
and
a
I get
town.
The town owns it.
Yeah.
We could go to them, but I mean, if we're asking, hey, we'd like to improve it, the town's probably gonna support that, right, Wayne?
well, that's what I'm saying. They would support us if we're paying for it.
Yeah, it
Right,
depends on what you're asking for, but.
No, we would, like he said, if we were paying for an improvement, but you guys, you own it.
Right, and it's town property. I would like to see 2 heaters put in, the concessions, or in the bathrooms there, and a concession, whether it be 3 heaters, just like what we have in the lift stations, just to put some heat in there, because every year we winterize it, and we might not have to winterize it if we keep heat in there. If we lose power, then we might have some problems, but, we had the whole concession stand painted, and it looks nice. But the bathrooms need a little bit of improvement, and if it doesn't cost that much for heaters, that would be great. And I think somewhere on one of the plans, they want to add more bathrooms to that, but that's probably a ways away.
But even the fencing out there, I mean, it's all rusted out.
Well,
The netting by the, what's that, I forgot what that field's called. Minor.
You guys renamed it.
Like the netting on the top, the fire department fixed that for us last year, and it's bits and pieces.
Well, the fence is overgrown with all the trees and all that.
That's the steel fence, right?
There's poison ivy, poison oak in there, and I guess that stuff never dies, so whoever goes in there, Gabe wants to go down that whole line and clean it up. Now, that's a major undertaking.
And that's what I'm saying. I know the baseball leagues aren't gonna jump on spending a ton of money on those fields. Because every time we've asked for money, like I said, I know we asked for $3,000 for field material, cutting the edges, getting all new mounds and whatever, and the town council said, no, nothing. We asked for the air conditioners this year, they said no. Luckily, Wayne, I think you paid for that out of your pocket.
No, I didn't. I'd like to take credit for it, but I didn't. I was going to, and they said, no, we'll do it. And Joe said, no, I'll take care of it. So, it'd be nice to do something with an air conditioner on the roof, and-
Right.
Well, why don't we just, instead of like each thing, why don't we just maybe capture like civic park facility upgrades
For the year.
for 2021, and then we can detail it out moving forward, that may be things that we would want to
So
consider.
like, at least every year, if we could put a little bit towards
Wish
it.
list.
you
Well,
know.
they would essentially just be recommendations, right, on what we think should be done there.
Unless they're gonna pay for it, but it would still, even if they said, we're willing to pay X amount, it would still have to go, in my opinion, I'm not a legal person, but it would still have to go to the council and say, we would like to fix the batting cages, we had a quote, and it would be, $5,000, we're willing to pay for it, will you approve of that? They'll still have to take their approval, even if you're willing to pay for it. And if you want them to pay for it, then you would make a recommendation to them that this needs to occur. I mean, they paid for, the basketball restoration at Civic Park.
Do you know if the parks have paid for improvements at Civic before?
I'm sure they've paid for it.
Well, whatever breaks, I'm
Mhm.
sure they fix it. They haven't fixed the batting cage. That's been down for 4 years since I've been around.
It's an eyesore and a danger, actually.
Oh, there's trees
And
growing. in it.
like I said, I know we've asked for money for different things for the baseball league, not the parks, but from the baseball league. And that's one thing I think we're so behind. We need to start whether it's us, whether the town council, something, we have to start
With the
putting.
amount of kids that we have in the community, I mean, you can't neglect these things. They have to be.
But I mean, like right now, it's gonna take money to fix it up just to get it back to where it should be. But it's like Gabe, where's he? Like, he's been trying to do with all the parks already. It's like they're so dilapidated, trying to get them back up.
We can investigate these upgrades for Civic Park and then negotiate. Maybe we would pay half, get a little kick in from St. John Baseball, get the town council, maybe get somebody to donate, but we can dig into all that.
Right.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying, just to get it out there. I mean,
Yeah.
just a thought,
So I think so far, like for planning for our study for 2021, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but like this is kind of a combo, but like I think that the park board needs to look at purchasing land for 2021, and maybe along with that, that might be a location where the community center might go, or keep them separate. The Lake Hills Clubhouse Initiative, the Gates Skate Park and Bathroom Facility, and then Civic Park upgrades for 2021 is. Does anybody else have anything else, or?
like that gate and stuff out at Heartland.
Got one. Can we look into getting sponsorships for the bags for the dog waste stations? I know that since I've started, keeping them filled, they are being used, as the garbage cans tell you. The cost of these are expensive. I think I ordered based off what Chip had ordered, and it went from August to August. We're not gonna see that again. We're gonna see it probably run out in February. It was around $1,800 for that order. That's not including inside the dog park, it's separate. So just for all the stations, we're looking around maybe for a year, $2,400. So the actual stations have a spot, which originally when we got into this program, how we got into it, it came with preset sponsors, and their logo was on there. But there's a spot for the sponsor on these stations. So basically, we would just pick up where they left off, get our own sponsors, not trying to make money off it, but just enough.
To cover the cost,
And not be eating that cost every year.
Yeah, for sure, absolutely.
Definitely, because that's gonna cover the
Do we
cost.
make any money with the dog park? There are a lot of people using the dog park.
People love that dog park. I mean.
Mike, how would we verbiage that?
Well, the money
Is he
that's
saying
used for.
sponsors for?
I think we'd have to ask her how we do
That's
that.
gonna go
Can we
back to
just
the dog park.
do it on our own, or we have to
Goes
go
back
through
to
the
dog park. Okay.
clerk?
So as of right
I'm
now,
saying
we
she might be able to-
just added some pavement on there, because
Ask her.
on the entrances, they weren't wide enough. So we widened them out because there was the dirt from people cutting the corners.
Right.
So that was widened out. We had 3 or 4 trees go down. We currently have 4 trees coming in probably at the end of this month. They're gonna be installed for us. Good size, got a good deal on it. So putting back into the park, making it look the way it was, not letting it get run down to where we're coming and asking for excess amounts of money, because if you don't fix it right away, it adds up.
Hey, but is there anything we'd have to do specific to do that, or do we just ask for sponsors? Does that have to go through the clerk's office? Because we're collecting money, I guess?
Yeah, that would, which.
An ordinance, there'd have to be an ordinance
Are
for
you
it.
talking about the dog park? for
I'm talking
soccer?
about the dog stations for that.
All the signs at the bags.
There'd be an ordinance for it.
Well, it would depend if we're gonna collect the money. So there's different options. So like if you have a sponsor come and they wanna sponsor a station, and whoever's doing the sponsorship, whatever company, if they pay directly to the company, is that what you're saying? Then we wouldn't.
We're trying to offcut, because we're gonna be about $2,400 this year for the doggy bags.
To use it against the.
So we're trying to get it to even that out, so we're not trying to make money, just enough to at least offset the cost.
Probably. I'd have to look at how the ordinances are written, but most likely you would end up setting up a special fund. That's just the way they make you do it, where any of the sponsorships would have to run through that fund. We do have a community events fund, but I don't know, that might be pushing it to say that this is an event. You know, but, while there's a gift fund for the Parks Department though, I don't know, I'd have to look into it a little bit more.
'Cause I think that's a great idea, 'cause
Yeah.
even if it pays off the cost of the bags.
One more idea, this is not my idea, this is from April Grover, she's works with our town. She likes the idea of having, there's a station that she found, I guess in California or Florida or something like that, where people bring their Strax bags or their Kroger bags or their Joel bags or those plastic bags, and they put them in there, and that's what you would use for your disposal. As of right now, with COVID and everything, I didn't like the idea just because we don't know where those bags came from or who's touched those bags. So that's the only reason why I would say no to it. But in a perfect world, no virus, I think it's cost effective overall.
Let me, like, don't most dog owners, I mean, I would think, unless they think there's gonna be bags, don't a lot of dog owners, don't they carry bags usually? I mean,
Some do, some don't. I mean,
Or
some,
you'd be surprised how much of that is left on the ground as they're walking.
yes.
I really think, because there was a time there, because of the cost of the bags, that they were empty. And during that time, 'cause that was the time when I was running a lot, and I mean, it was just, there were landmines everywhere. And I definitely believe that having those there helps a lot.
I'm sure running by Prairie West Park, there's a total difference today because of those bags than there was previous. 'Cause I
Right.
see you running by.
Well, nobody thinks about it, just like the
Yeah.
mask.
I
Nobody
go
thinks
out
about,
and
I'm
buy my
running to
own
the store,
bags.
oh, I forgot my mask.
I go out and buy my own bags, but Prairie West Park was loaded. Now that the bags are there, it's cleaned up about 90% that I've seen.
And I think if we're getting sponsors for it, or getting somehow someone to pay for it or whatever,
I guess I'd have to go.
it's no loss to us.
Count the stations, and maybe see if we want to add any more stations to any areas that could use it, and then determine the price off that, I guess.
It may be as simple as just, you guys approving the fee, the sponsorship fee, and then you would run it through your park fund, Fund 204. So it may just be as simple as a motion saying, you know, that you're gonna set the sponsorship fee at $100, and the terms will be, you know, a one-year sponsorship, making a motion approving it, and then, you know, we'd be able to collect on it. It could be that simple, and not setting up a whole nother fund, it would be easier, but Nicole would have to kind of weigh in on that.
Right.
I think it'd be great.
I think it's a good idea.
yeah.
I actually think it's a great idea. It's saving us $2,400.
They're using them. That's cool. I like it. People are out there exercising, they're walking their dogs 4 or 5 times a day. I see the same people at Prairie West Park 4 or 5 times a day. We're on first name basis right now. Yeah, it's great. It's good. It's cool. We talk, we hang out. I know their dogs. I pet their dog.
Well, it's the same at Heartland.
The older gentleman says it's our park. He helps me pick up trash when he sees it blowing. I mean, there's good residents walking their dogs in these parks, and they help out. I mean, they help clean up. They keep an eye out. If kids are doing bad stuff, they'll come tell me. Hey, there's a kid over here doing this. Okay, thanks. You know, so to help them keep cleaning up after their animals, I'm all for it.
You probably get a lot more usage because of COVID too, if people are home.
Yes, like I said, the trails and the parks, they are just ramped up and they're at full capacity right now. People are out getting physical activity. They're getting out of the house, they're walking their dog, or maybe they've been cooped up with the wife too long or the husband too long, and they're going, well, I'm gonna go for a walk. You know, my kids are getting on my nerves, I'm gonna go for a walk, you know? So yeah, they're using the trails.
And it's gonna be even crazier now that they're closing the schools now.
Yeah,
Yeah, we went through this, early summer and just before my school went back, and kids, everyone was out. I mean, it was like a parade every day, everywhere you went.
Bad thing now is the weather. Because everybody's escape before was they were able to go out and hit the trails. And
Oh,
Yeah,
I know Ileana uses Heartland. They come out there. It's either their track team or cross country, whatever they call it. You know, whatever. I think it's cross country probably. Where they bring their little bus out there, and
Yeah.
you see about 10 young guys out there. They're there, and all of a sudden they take off. They go all the way. I'm pretty sure they go all the way to Heartland, or where do I live? Homestead Park. They go like all the way there and back. I mean, they're getting used. That's off the topic that we're talking about. Dog
Yeah.
bags, but
no, that's good, and we need that. That's great. Thank you, Gabe. And then, so, again, just real quick, we're gonna look into purchase land for 2021, investigate the community center, Lake Hills Clubhouse for 2021, Gates Skate Park 2021, the permanent bathrooms in the Gates, Civic Park upgrades 2021. And then what I think we need to follow up on too is the gate for Heartland, to maybe do that this year. So maybe next meeting or the December meeting, at least, we can maybe do that this year. And then the Prairie West parking lot, I think we can still get that initiated this year. I'm not saying get it done, but get some bids, maybe put some money down out of that we have. I think that would be practical if we can look into that. And then something I overlooked, but looking at the capital improvement plan, one of the items here for 2021 too, I don't know why it couldn't be 2020, but they have the Ford F-250, a truck for the park department. We don't have one for the park department?
We have one as of right now.
Yeah, and then the other one's a beater, but
That was two-wheel drive, so we'd effectively have two for plowing.
and I know
It's
we're- I know
it's
we're-
already approved in our budget. It's in the, you see, it's in the park operating fund. So that's already approved, and we've already got,
Can we get it this year or no?
well, we'll submit probably a request to purchase this year before the end of the year, but
I would suggest you put it in, so like the police department this past year in 2019, I'll just give you a little history of what happened here. They had put in request to purchase in 2019 for 3 new police vehicles. COVID hit, they just got the police vehicles because it just was on that much of a back order. So I would highly, and so they're getting additional police vehicles for next year, and their RTPs, their request to purchase, are coming at the next meeting, so that we don't have the same thing happen again. So if you want the truck, I would get moving on that request to purchase, have it presented at your next meeting. See if you
Yeah, I would say
can
let's do that.
You put that under too? For,
About 4 months out, I believe.
Yeah,
Is this price, with the plow?
Yes.
Because, yeah, 43,000 for just a truck is
No, it's-
expensive, so that's plow.
Everything, plow, everything.
are we planning on plowing the trails this year?
You know what, yes, I do plan on plowing trails. Last year I started with Prairie West, just as a sampler. I think every year I'm gonna try to expand more and more out.
I think it's a great idea. I mean,
I don't wanna bite off too much, so I'm gonna try to hit like major areas.
like the Homestead one's a big one, because everybody cuts through there,
Right.
but they're not straights. That's where the challenge would be.
I'll figure it out. I'll get it. Yeah, I mean, I'm all about it, by extending out people's exercise time to get out there and do some extra stuff. Just a matter of so like I'm still plowing for the like town itself. So after that, then I'll have to go hit it. So with like Heartland Park as well, that's not our first priority for the town. It's our roads. So we do that, and then when everything's done, then you hit your parking lots and all that. So, I mean, last year was a bit of a challenge sometimes when I worked like, a 12, 13-hour shift to go get that done, but.
I mean, we do nothing. Once we're, probably in the next 2 or 3 weeks, we're shutting that down. We're winterizing all the sinks, toilets, because we shut all the water
Talking
off.
about like up front by the ice arena.
Oh, God, I thought you were talking about back there. That's what I'm like, that's what I was saying, the gate, we're
Lake
done.
Hills, by Huron Lake, and then, what else, Dog Park, and then, Homestead.
in the 2021 budget, you do, this is another thing to maybe think about, the council approved for you to add on an additional maintenance employee. So you may wanna, I don't know how soon you want the hiring of that position, but,
You saying start the process this meeting?
I mean, maybe getting kind of like a job posting out there, because if you figure we're already into November, then you can get the ball rolling.
Yeah, that was in the, I think it may have been an action plan, Tyler, about another employee.
mm-hmm.
Yeah, we need to have that for 2021 also.
Does that come out of this fund, or is that a different fund?
That's our operating fund.
It comes out of a mixed fund because the person that you hire will mimic essentially Gabe, and Gabe still does work for Public Works. So I don't know if this position will also do water main breaks. My guess will be, I don't know, maybe. They
But if we
might,
could
but
figure
his
out-
pay will be,
Right.
so 50% out of your park operating fund. And then the other 50% is a combination out of different, like MVH, water, wastewater, sanitary district, water district. Because the thought would be, it's still a combined position.
So I'm kind of, it's not an improvement plan. Like, it's not coming out of that money.
It's not in your capital plan. It's not out of Fund 473. The 50% would come out of Fund 204.
Okay.
So that wouldn't be going against these projects, well, obviously, it wouldn't, I just wanted, I didn't know if that was gonna be going against all the other stuff we're putting in here.
No.
But that's,
Oh, and a recording secretary, that's good to note too. The council would like to hire a part-time recording secretary at 20 hours per week. That person, then you would be hit out of your budget, but it's already been calculated into it, roughly about $3,800 for them to record, do all the minutes for your meetings.
Okay.
They're struggling to find anybody to do
Willing,
the job,
willing to do it,
so.
yes.
so they're looking for someone. Okay.
That job's been posted, but I don't think they've had anyone apply.
No biters, nobody's biting on it.
Well, if they've listened to our meetings, they're,
But in the event they find somebody. And so, yeah, you don't have to post for that, that'll be the council to decide who they choose, but you may want to consider posting for the.
and you brought up the gates at Heartland.
Yes.
We wanna look at those 12 by 12 posts on the trailheads, so people can't get through with their vehicles. That was something Chips originally brought that up to me years ago. And I don't know who does it. I don't know if the town does that. I almost think the town does it, but I don't know. That's
I don't
something.
think we've ever done it, but I'm sure it can't be that hard, but you find a
Is
company.
that an actual problem though, for cars going back through there? I mean, besides the baseball or softball people?
Is it a problem?
I mean, is it an actual problem with the cars going on the trail?
I mean, it always has been. I mean, the 4x4 trucks were going out there and ripping the nets until we fixed them. And they go out there at night, park them back there. I mean,
Yeah, you don't want that, you don't want it to damage, and they'll go on the grass, so if you put that in there, hopefully they won't go across.
right.
Or if you gotta put them across the grass too, that's fine.
I've seen it both ways. I've seen it to where they'll jump a ditch. I mean, if they really wanna go over there, they're,
Right. Well, I mean, it's a deterrent. It's like anything. Yes, I can find a way to get back there. I can go around the backside of the baseball, you know. And I was just thinking, if that's not a great idea, I mean, then someone's gonna crash into it on their bicycle. Maybe it's not a good idea. That's why I'm bouncing off you guys. Just keep it at the gate.
the fence I like, the gate, I think
Stick it with the gate.
I think so.
And I'm fine with that. That's why.
What about this? Let's try the gate and see what the response is. If that's not a big enough deterrent, and we
We
can,
can always, okay, yeah.
we
We do
can
have
put some more.
cyclists too. I mean, we have like little kids on their bikes and they fall on the path all the time, so knowing the kids' luck, they'd fall right into something.
Right.
Those kids are flying around there all the time and on the bike path, that is.
Are we, so, we want to initiate the truck for maybe this year, Beth? Is that what you're saying?
Next
At
meeting.
least if Tyler presents to you the RTP, and if you're inclined to do so, you would approve that
Right,
expense
that's-
this year, which would allow
To get,
Larry, our town mechanic, he can
Stack it
get
up.
it going.
check it out.
So we can do that, and then,
No, everything's done.
we want to initiate another employee too.
Mhm.
Okay, I think we've captured, are we missing anything?
Yeah, I'd like to say, grants. Are there any grants that we can apply for, grants for trees? Gabe was talking about, a lot of stuff with water, there's water at, Prairie West. Maybe we can build a bridge across the pond, I don't know how expensive that is, maybe just look into it and see. I think you were talking about that, anything with water, there's a lot of water stuff that you can get.
Anything with decks repairs, there's ways to get grants for it. Again, the cost, this is my first experience with grants, just seeing what happened with, with the parking lots. I guess sometimes just saying that I have a grant really isn't worth getting the grant. Just say $12,000 to spend X amount more than what is needed, you know what I mean? Just to say that we got it. Is it a need? No. Would be nice to have a deck repair.
Even a piers coming out or something, I mean.
Correct, it would be nice. The one at Lake Hills gets used a lot.
One of my in-laws right here at 90th and Patterson, they had a little island out there, and they had that bridge, and there's always people requesting to get pictures on it for their weddings, and everybody loves a bridge. Everybody loves a bridge.
Then they got the two geese that are there
The fake ones?
yeah, the fake ones.
Well, they had real ones, but
They kind of got loose, but it works. The geese don't come in there.
they're still around. But their remote control had an alligator that was on top of a remote control, so it looked like an alligator going through the yard. They try to chase the geese out of there. They've always had geese problems over there.
Oh. I think that's it. But the trees, it'd be nice to get trees. We haven't had any trees planted, I don't think. We can get some sizable ones, 1 inch in diameter or whatever, and 6 foot tall, and start planting some trees in some places.
Heartland needs trees. Baseball fields.
Oh.
Where the gates are to get in the fields, you could put one tree on each side of each field, and then in 5-6 years, people have shade. There is absolutely no shade out there.
Right?
In the middle of summer,
Well, I know the town's making efforts right now to reassemble the tree board. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know the status on it or what the situation is with applications. But once the tree board does get established, I mean that would be part of their responsibility is to look to plant trees in town and to look for grant opportunities as well.
I'm sure there's something out there, it's just something we'd have to research. I looked a little bit into Bill Gates and different, like through the state of Indiana, just for community centers, and there is avenues out there. You can apply, it doesn't mean you're gonna get it, but there's things we can look into to offset the cost, and hopefully with the trees, I like that, Wayne. Yeah, that's very needed, very needed. Anything else? You good?
One more note, Mike, on playgrounds. Like I said, we had 20 playgrounds, and the useful life, it varies depending on a lot of factors, but it's usually between 15 to 25 years for a piece of equipment. We have 9 structures that fall within that range right now. I think the strategy in the past has always been to try to replace 1 per year. It's going to be, there could be some difficult decisions that we have to make regarding some of this equipment, whether we scale back or whether we, choose not to replace it just because of just the amount of equipment we have in our system. Like I said, it's unique for a town of our size. I think some of this equipment was put in by the developer and just given to the town. And it's a lot of times the worst piece of property in that division. They said, let's just make it a park and let the town have it. I just mentioned that it's because I said, again, we have 9, pieces of equipment that could technically be replaced right now based on their useful life. They're not terrible, but it's going to get to the point where what do we do with all this?
Yeah, like I said, if it's something that's in need of repair, and we can't neglect it. Either we have to take action to either keep it current, keep it up to date, or see what our options are for that facility. So,
I think the way they've been doing it is they're not up to date. The ones that are out of date, basically they're taking them out and putting all new equipment in with the rubber mats. And what do those cost for one of those?
Well, if you do a pour-in-place rubber surface, that pretty much doubles the price of the project. So if it's a $50,000 equipment with the install, just with mulch, it might be $50,000. If you do with the rubber, that's doubling the price. It'd be $100,000.
So at 9 parks, you're looking anywhere from 50 to 100,000 for each one.
but I think, I'd been with Wayne, we had looked at some parks, and I think when you look at the logistics of the areas, there's certain places that, you know, it's changed, the dynamics of the neighborhood's changed, it's a little more sedentary. You know, are they utilizing it? Do they even, you know, are they wanting, do they need it? You know, if there's not a need for it, I mean, I just want to put, you know, or maybe they're not using it because it's not kept, you know, I don't know. But we need to look into that. I don't want to just put money into something if it's not being used either. You know, it's something that we need more information on, I
Right,
think.
yeah.
That's my opinion.
Definitely have to be addressed,
Yes.
especially if they're starting to get to that point.
So we can maybe put down that for 2021, we're going to investigate which mini parks that we want to, you know,
Make a list.
yeah, continue to support, or maybe we need to reevaluate them. Maybe they're all fine, you know, maybe we just need to upgrade them, but we need to look into it. Thank you for pointing that out, Tyler.
Yeah. And I think maybe having quarterly study sessions would be good. You know, we could have discussed any one of these items for an entire session. We hit on a lot of stuff tonight. Maybe just to keep updated on our capital improvement plan, where we're at. I think it would be a good idea going forward.
And get this all on the same page,
Yeah,
instead of walking in the meeting and,
yeah, in the meeting.
we're doing this, what? I mean,
So this is November. Did you have like a timeline that you were thinking about?
Maybe February, March, you know, once we get into, 2021, just to keep us on track. I think it would be a good idea.
Want to do it the regular, like typical quarterly, like March and
Sure.
June and then July? No.
do you want to do it like the second,
September.
whatever this is? What is this, Thursday? I mean, we could,
Yeah.
second Tuesday or second Thursday, like the week before the meeting
Yeah,
of that month,
I like that.
and you just figure out which month you want to do it, and we'll just do that forever. That way that's what I'm saying, that way it's on, so
No,
if we all go and someone else comes in, at least they know they're gonna be meeting before that meeting.
Well, we'd have to put it on the agenda and have a motion and to consider having
And
the,
it would be nice to discuss it and then have the meeting, and we can do that in the meeting.
Right,
Definitely,
and that way we don't look like we're
definitely,
totally
definitely.
unprepared.
we're learning. Any public comments? Is the board good? And Tyler, you good? And Wayne? Anything else? Beth, from you, any comments?
We
any
didn't
other-
receive any public comments.
Any public comments? Anything else? I guess we can just adjourn. I don't think we need to take action, but I'll call it adjourned. Guys, thanks a lot. Beth, Madam Clerk, thank you so much for being here. Gabe, Mr. Pondinas, thank you.